Hey, everybody, it's the Brightside with Mikey and Rachel. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Mikey. Wait. No, wait. Try again.
Okay, let's try again.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, it's the Brightside with Mikey and Rachel. I'm Rachel.
And I am not Mikey.
And this is the podcast where we talk about Lindy Hop, our opinions, and basically whatever else we want to talk about.
I mean, I wouldn't know because I'm never on here except for that one time.
So we have a special guest today.
Who is it?
It's my husband.
Wait. Oh, hey!
It's you.
It's me. Brett Dahlenburg.
He's here.
I'm here.
Mikey's not here.
No.
He's in Australia.
Mikey, so Mikey died. Wait. Sorry.
That's not right.
Sorry, I'm reading my notes wrong.
Hold on.
Mikey's computer died. Mikey's computer died. He's still alive, very much alive. I know this because I was there. I oversaw the death. I may have been responsible for it. I kind of pushed it off the cliff a little bit.
So this is what happened. We were working Cowbell, the California Balboa Classic, and it all started with Scott Angelis's computer, who is there helping run the contest with me, and the power cable on his very old dinosaur laptop
just died.
While
I was in there.
It made a buzzing noise, and it was like, I'm dead. And we were like, oh no. And his computer is so old that it only holds like a charge for 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we were like, what are we going to do? We have to get a new power cable immediately. So we were like trying to find a place that carried the plug, and nobody carried the plug because it's 1,000 years old. And then Mikey was like, hey, you guys can just use my computer. And we were like, perfect, you've saved the day.
Right. And so me, being Mr. Smarty Pants, I see them and they're like, Scott and Rachel are working on this computer. And they're like, oh, it's so slow. Mikey's computer, it's like such a, but at least it's working. And then they reached a stopping point. And I was like, I can fix that. No, I could totally fix that. And Scott's like, yeah, great. And then he's like, wait. Are you sure you want to mess with this right now? Because it's working, and what if you break it further? And I actually looked at him and was like, well, you don't trust me? And that shut him up. That shut him right up, and he was like, all right, go ahead. And all I did, I had a whole plan for what I was going to do. All I did was restart it. And that was it. That was the end of it.
That was the end
of it. It was the end of it.
It wouldn't turn on again, and Mikey was really sad, and he took it to the Genius Bar, and they said that it is dead. R.I.P. Mikey's computer.
R.I.P.
Anyway, so Mikey's in Australia for the next couple weeks, and he doesn't have a computer with him, so he didn't bring his recording equipment with him. So
we replaced him.
He's
gone.
That's
He's out of here. It was that easy. It was that
Welcome
easy.
to the Bright Side with Mike. Oh my gosh, Rachel and Brett.
Yeah.
I'm not Mikey.
I'm not Mikey either.
Neither of us are Mikey. So,
but anyways, we're gonna move on.
We are gonna move on. I would ask you how you're doing, but since we are married and live together, I know exactly how you're doing.
Yeah, it's funny. It was you and Mikey, you make a point not to talk to each other, like so that you can do.
So we can have
it on the podcast. You can talk about it, but clearly we only talk to each other constantly, and it's just stupid for me to tell you what's going on. So you already know. That's fine.
So today, as you guys know, we moved into our new house a few weeks ago, and we had not had a chance at all to unpack, and it was a royal disaster.
Yeah.
And today we were finally able to put some bookshelves up and put some books on the shelves.
We kept making it worse because we were like, oh, it's such a mess in here. Let's buy more furniture. We'd be like, should we get rid of the old furniture? Eventually. And so it was just like old furniture stacked on top of like boxes of new furniture, and then like I put them all together, but they weren't put.
And then we were like, mess. Why clean when the boxes are dirty and they make our house dirty? So then it was dirty.
Why clean when you can just go to bed?
Oh, that sounds so amazing. So let's talk about, should we start with Lindy Focus? We were at Lindy Focus.
Yeah, I know you guys talked a little bit about, your last one podcast was from Lindy Focus with Jerry, right?
We have, the last one was from Jerry, and we have two that we still haven't released yet, which hopefully
are trapped on the dead computer.
They're trapped on the dead computer and will hopefully get recovered, but we will.
I think they're recoverable, but I clearly am the reason the computer's broken. So maybe don't listen.
You are
to me.
the culprit.
I'm the culprit.
Perhaps the murderer of Mikey's laptop.
It was an accident.
That's
I'm
so
like, it's
sad.
manslaughter. It's computer slaughter. It's not murder. Murder implies intent. I didn't mean to.
It was an accident.
I'm sorry, Mikey. I'm sorry.
Maybe you should apologize to the computer.
It's dead. It's gone.
Sorry, laptop.
Sorry, Mac.
Sorry.
Pro from 5 years ago.
So, but you were on staff at Lindy Focus.
Yep.
And what were you doing?
I was the videographer, as I have been for the last several years at Lindy Focus. And then we came home and worked and then we went immediately back to our job. Actually, I had 1 day off. And then, but you went right back to work.
I went right back to work.
And then I went back to work the next day and worked. And then we went immediately into CalBal.
Yeah.
And
which was equally crazy somehow. Like we both got up super early to go to work that day so we could get off early so we could get to the event as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that was a day that I was all over town. I went to the arts district downtown, and then I had to go to Beverly Hills, and then I had to go to Los Feliz, and then I had to go to Pasadena. And that was like traveling around the world.
Yeah, if you don't know, I'm familiar with LA, those places are all far away from each other.
Yeah.
Like, they're all in the same county, but it's really far.
Like 5 miles, you guys. Yeah. You don't even know. 5 miles is like so far.
You don't understand 5 miles is a long way in LA.
It's like a really long way.
It's like, anyways. But yeah, and then I had to go to work, and then I wasn't supposed to work over the weekends, but then it was the Golden Globes that weekend, and so they had work for me to do, and they're like, hey, can you work? And I was like, I'm actually doing this other thing, but then I looked, and the schedules didn't conflict almost at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, sure, I can do both things, but that meant I was working from like 8 a.m. till like 1 a.m. every day on days that I was supposed to be off.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
It was crazy.
But you were doing videography for CalBal as well.
Yes.
How did that go?
It went great, actually. So I actually...
Other than killing Mikey's computer.
Well, that was not part of the videography. That was not part of my role. I was not getting paid to do that. That was a bonus. That was just a little extra there.
Little cherry on top of the ice cream cake.
It was just for you, Mikey.
Wink.
It actually went really well. The last few years, the room that they use is gorgeous. They do it at the Pasadena Masonic Temple, which is where Lindy Groove happens every week.
Right.
It's giant. It's beautiful. It's perfect for an event. So they have rooms upstairs where they have all the classes and stuff, and it's perfect. But the lighting is bad. It's not bad if you're just dancing. Like,
right, the lighting is great when you're dancing because it's like sexy lighting.
Yeah, totally. But then when you're doing, when you're recording or doing photos or whatever, like especially for videography, like you need good lighting because otherwise everything just looks terrible. It looks awful. And the last few years, the videos basically looked awful. Like maybe nobody noticed. Hopefully they didn't notice. Hopefully I did my job enough that it was palatable. But like I actually bought so much new equipment specifically because of CalBal and a few other events that are at venues that just have bad lighting.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault, but it just looked bad. So I have a whole new camera that's like a low light camera that's, makes it. So this year I did everything very different than last year and actually looked really good.
Like, are there pro tips you can give us on what you did?
On what?
Because I don't even know what you did to make the
video look like the technical details.
Yeah.
Well, it was a combination of me having new equipment and that is just new technology that's invented. That like this camera that I have like is only like a few years old. Like they didn't even have this as an option. That made a huge difference in just. The sensor is like more sensitive and to light, and so you don't need as much light. But also, James Bianco brought in like extra lights to just physically add more light to the room.
Okay.
And I did. I just don't know how interested people are in like the super nitty gritty technical part of this.
So usually when I shoot on F7, I turned it down actually to F6.
That's right. The more light. Well, I just set it in like a flat profile, and then which gives you like a higher dynamic range, and then I went and like did a lot of color correction afterwards.
Okay.
And so and YouTube is kind of shitty. It really like it compresses the video so much. You can mostly tell, but if you see me and I'm at home and you're at my home and I can show you some of the raw video, but like it looks really good, like especially compared to last year.
So that's an open invite. Everyone, you can come to our home and watch your YouTube videos in full resolution.
Some of you can.
Invitation pending.
Invitation pending confirmation.
Did you do any dancing?
A cowbell I did not. But that was mostly because it was a Balboa event, and like we don't do the babos.
We don't do the bobos very much.
We don't do the babos.
I had like 4 dances at cowbell.
But were they all babos?
I think I had one babos dance, and then I had a couple Lindy Hop dances. That's right, everybody. I swing out at a Balboa event. What now?
Yeah. No, so I didn't do anything, but I did actually dance a little bit at Lindy Focus, which is not always. I don't always have time to do that, but
yeah.
The last like 2 nights, I actually got a lot of dancing in, which was really nice because the music is crazy good.
So good.
So good.
I didn't even get to see you hardly at all at Lindy Focus because you were in the cave.
Yeah. So if you don't actually, so a lot of people see the videos that I post,
right.
But if you're not there, and specifically if you're there, you have to be there and actually go to the camp meetings. That's where like half of the work that I do over the week actually gets seen. It's during the camp meeting. Joe and Nina preside over the camp meetings, and they're inspired by the camp meetings they used to have at Harangue, which I guess they probably still have them. But
I think they do.
That Leonard last name pending. Leonard, the Swedish with Swedish last name.
I am
Wester Leonard. Everyone knows who Leonard is.
Yeah.
He would run all the camp meetings, and so that's where Lindy Focus got it from. And anyways, they've kind of become like a 30 to 45 minute nightly talk show.
Yeah.
Like the Tonight Show. And they've kind of like grown into that, and that's what people are expecting. And so it puts a huge amount of pressure onto Nina and Joe. And before then, it was Mikey, who, if he was here, he could talk about this.
He could vouch about it, but he's not. Idiot.
Ugh.
God.
And Mikey and Kevin did it for like 3 years, and then this is Nina and Joe's 2nd year.
Right.
And they try to take some of the pressure off of themselves by delegating some tasks to other people, or bringing other people on stage to like do little bits. And there's actually some great stuff that I need to post. But they asked me to produce a bunch of videos every night. And so actually like my contracted job at Lindy Focus is to shoot the performances, the competitions, and the live music.
Right.
Which starts at like 9 p.m. and goes until like 1 or 2 a.m. depending on when like the last performance competition is.
Right.
Which is already like that's like 5 hours there. Plus all of the posting of the videos, color correction, cutting, blah blah blah, and then uploading to YouTube. So it's like a full 40-hour
work week there
just for that. But then on the side, I do all of this extra work for Nina and Joe because I love them so, and because they really want it and they need it. And so I end up spending about another 40 hours during the day producing all this stuff for them. They give me like a little outline, and
I didn't have anything to do at Lindy Focus except for goof around with Mikey.
Yeah.
And so I did do a lot of that this year. But in years past, I've just been like twiddling my thumbs and wandering around the hotel being like, what do I do now?
I know, especially since we don't have a car. Like,
we don't have a car.
Asheville is good.
And you get meals through the staff meals, and I don't.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, I'll eat alone.
Yeah, at the bar.
Another French fry.
Another Shirley Temple, please.
Another
round of Shirley Temples for everybody.
For everybody, I'm paying.
I'm buying.
Virgin Shirley Temples, right?
Right.
Extra Shirley in mine, please.
Extra. No Temple.
No Temple, just the Shirley. I don't know what part that is.
But you don't have a car, so Asheville is a really cool town. It's a foodie paradise of the South,
which we really get to experience.
The point is we don't get to experience it because we can never leave the hotel.
Well, I know I was making a joke.
I know. Well, I was saying it literally.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
That's why we're married.
Yeah. It's like we finish each other's
sentences.
That's right.
Oh.
I was gonna say sandwiches.
Oh. It's mostly I finish your sandwich.
That's true.
I finish your food more than you finish my food.
I know, not by my choice.
But because I am a piggy.
That's right.
Anyway.
That's not nice. Anyways.
Cars, transportation.
Yeah, anyway, so I'm like locked in a room all day and then running around all night. Although you do actually help a lot getting me from point A to point B.
I carry the stool.
She carries the stool. Sometimes you carry the tripod or the camera.
Sometimes I carry the
both.
camera, yeah.
In the bag.
And it's very heavy.
The which one?
All of it.
It's all really, really heavy.
It's all very heavy.
Really heavy.
I'm always sweating by the time we get to our destination.
Yeah. And the way Lindy Focus is designed, or the hotel rather, is they have this giant expo center, which is where all the dances are, and it's massive, and it's perfect. But it's on the opposite side of the hotel from where the late night is.
Right.
And so I have to record at the expo center, and then it always ends up running late.
You walk like a quarter mile. It's like a quarter mile.
It's far. And then they're like, all right, everybody, to coax people to leave, they're like, there's a performance at the late night.
5 minutes from now.
5 minutes, so you better hurry over. And I'm like, no!
Every single night, we're like grabbing everything. We're like, we got to get out of here. We're
and
like running through the halls.
Like one itty bitty door, and like 1,000 people trying to like get out, and like they don't want to go, so they're like super slow. And we're like, get out of our way.
We're coming through. And then we're always like, beep, beep, heavy equipment coming through. It's a wide load.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, you don't get to go there faster than we do. We're like, yes, we do. Goodbye.
And then they're like, oh, wait. Well, okay, but to be fair, this year people were finally like, videographers, watch out.
Yeah.
They're coming through.
This year was a little bit better than years past. Like, people are finally getting the drill.
I feel like people are starting to understand that there's like a videographer position now, whereas like in years past it was like
amateur.
Yeah, it was people doing it for fun or people just doing it on their cell phones.
Right. So, like there might if the official person showed up, they might record it or they might not. Not everything was documented.
Totally.
Officially.
Which kind of dives into our topic of the day, which is awesome people behind the scenes who make the dance scene better.
Yeah.
And you're one of them.
Well, thank you very much. And you're one of them, too.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm not saying that because I'm married to you.
You're in spite of it.
It's in spite of it, as a matter of fact.
But yeah, I mean, there's like all kinds of people behind the scenes that you may know about, or you may have like a vague understanding, or you like have an assumption. Like for instance, if you go to a major dance event that's at a hotel, they probably don't have a ballroom with a dance floor.
Yeah.
All hotels, they have carpeted floors. They're like multi-purpose rooms. They're not set up. They might call it a ballroom, but it's not really set up to be a ballroom. There has to be people that bring in the portable dance floor, and they have to like put it together, like screw it together, make sure it fits and everything's perfect.
And that's an all-day process.
It's an all-day process. And then what a lot of people don't realize is that for a lot of events, they have to take it apart and put it back together every single day.
Yeah.
Because the moves or because like restrictions with the hotel or like whatever reason, like, you know, when you dance on 1,000 people dance on a portable dance floor, it moves around.
Oh yeah, shifting.
Yeah.
I don't remember where it was. It was either at Lindy Focus or ILHC. There was one year where I saw that the floor had shifted like a foot in one ILHC. Direction. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It got really close to the bandstand.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. And they had to keep pushing it back every day.
Yeah.
And so, like, you think they just come and put it up once and then, but no, there's a whole team of people that make sure the dance floor is ready each night, and that's a pain. I don't want to do that.
I definitely don't
want to do that, but people do that. So, like, if you see or know that somebody's doing that, like, give them a pat on the back. I was going to say give them a pat on the butt, but maybe don't do that. Maybe get permission first before you do that.
I really appreciate you. Can I give you a pat on the butt?
I would love to pat your butt right now, but I want to be respectful of you, and may I have your permission?
You may.
Pat away.
Pat away.
Pat away.
Ooh, hello. Anyways, another person is like Scott Angelus, for example. I'm talking about you, Scott. Now you have to listen.
Yeah, now you have to. He's like, we talked about actually, I'm like, hey, have you listened to the podcast? No.
He was so funny because I worked with him at Cowbell over the weekend, and he was like, I've never listened to any of your episodes, but I love the idea. And I think you should keep on doing it. I love it.
I love
it's
the enthusiasm.
Great.
That's
it's
great.
Awesome.
You keep being you.
You got to continue doing that. It's the best. And I was like, thanks, Scott. But also, you need to listen.
Yeah. But also, that's kind of bullshit.
Pretty presumptuous of you, don't you think?
Yeah. So, anyways, what is Scott? Who is Scott, and what does he do?
Well, so Scott lives in Knoxville. He used to live in Austin, be a part of the Austin scene, and he helped develop the Lindy Project there, which is their
premier. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of classes, but it's one of the bigger.
Yeah, it's like ongoing classes.
Yeah, weekly classes.
He's a big mover and shaker, and
Dancing for Forever.
He's like 1 million years old, and he does all of the contest tabulations.
Yeah. Any big event that has competitions that people like really care about, not just like at a Lindy Exchange or something where they're like, oh, here we have this like Jack and Jill, maybe you just throw it together. But like the
major competitions.
Yeah, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but like there are some events where the competitions are the focal point. Cowbell being one of them.
ILHC.
Lone Star Championships at Lindy Fest.
Yep. He even did them at Lindy Focus this year.
Camp Hollywood, although I don't know if does Camp Hollywood, but
I don't either.
But Lindy Focus, like anybody who really wants their competitions to run smoothly and to have the tabulation be accurate, they call Scott.
And
you worked with him.
And I work with him. Someone told me last weekend that Scott is the male version of me, which I told Scott that, and he was like, yeah, that sounds pretty right.
Is that why I'm like secretly attracted to him?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, that explains that.
There you go.
Wink.
Winky. But but anybody who may not know, scores are done by what is that?
The relative placement system?
Relative placement, yeah. Relative placement, which is like involves a lot of math and like there's a lot of rules to it, and it can get really complicated if there's a tie.
If you don't know what relative placement is, the gist of it is that the majority rules.
Yes.
So they don't average all the scores. It's really like if you have 5 judges, 3 of them have to agree in some capacity, otherwise it doesn't move forward.
Totally.
So if one contestant gets 2 first places and 3 last places, or 3 middle of the road places, like a lot of people will be like, well, they got 2 first places, so they got to be in the top 3, right? Like, not according to the relative placement.
Exactly.
Because that's not a majority.
Exactly, which is why, like, so many times when you go look at your scores after a major event like ILHC or something, you're like, I don't understand. I had 3 1s or 3 2s. Why didn't I place? It's because all the other scores kind of negated that.
And we had some personal experience with that when we were on Groove Juice Special, which I think you guys have talked about a bit. Our 2010 routine, which was like our best routine at ILHC. It was our first year going there.
Yep.
It was by far our best performance up to that point.
Totally.
We were super excited about it, and like there was a lot of buzz going around about us afterwards. Like because we kind of like surprised people. A lot of people didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
And so they were like, wow. And you can actually see it in the video because Patrick Schmidt did the video that year, and he's way back, and like so you see a lot of people like in the audience like staring, and you can see like some people, and they're like, whoa, and they're like talking about us, and like and they like clearly it made an impression on them. We're like, could we place?
Yeah.
Could we really? Like, we had no idea. We did not expect that.
Well, and do you remember when they were announcing all the awards?
Oh, yeah.
That at the end of the weekend, we were like, we might place.
Yeah, they were like, and then they were like, we might place. And they're like, 3rd place is not us. And we're like, oh, wait.
Could it be second place?
Did we get second? And then they're like, 2nd place, not us. And we're like, no, it couldn't be. It couldn't possibly. Is this real? Is
and
this
then
like a miracle?
First place. And
we're like, not us. We're like, oh. Like the most anticlimactic.
And we were so stupid.
I know. In retrospect, we're like, we weren't going to place. But people like prominent people, like internationally known instructors, came up to us and they're like, I easily have you guys top 3.
Oh,
easily.
yeah.
And we were like, really? And they're like, oh, yeah. And we hadn't seen all the performances, because we were back, stage and we weren't there. And like, so, and we were also just like, we went first. And so we were all flustered. We weren't really paying attention. Like, we didn't know. So we were trusting these people.
Right.
But then we got the scores and we ended up 5th place.
Yeah.
Which was still really good.
It was still
really good. We were like considering everything. It was really good. But you can still, I think the scores are still up on the ILHC website from back then. I'm
really?
Sure. I think they
go that far back.
I think they just keep everything on there. They just keep adding to it.
Oh.
But we did actually get 2 first places and a 3rd place.
Yeah.
No, 1 first place and 2 third places.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. But we had 3 in the top 3.
Yeah.
But there were like 9 judges.
Yeah.
There's a lot of judges. And then we had some 5th places, then we had some 7th places, and then we had some like 9th places out of 10 teams. And so the majority did not agree that we were in the top 3. Like some people did. I remember it was Sky Humphreys gave us 1st place.
Oh, yeah.
And that felt particularly... vindicating.
That felt good
because we really respected him. Not that we didn't respect the other judges, but some of them we didn't even know who they were.
Right.
Some of them were from Europe and whatnot. And we're like, well, Sky and Naomi and Carla Heine, I believe, like they thought we were in the top 3, and those are the only ones we care about. Just forget the rest of these people.
Yeah, but anyway, back to Scott.
Yeah, Scott.
I mean, you probably don't even see, like, if you're at a major event and he's working it, you probably don't even see him most of the weekend because he's just behind
held up
closed
in a closet,
doors, doing tabulations all weekend.
With his ancient dinosaur computer.
Which, who knows
if it may be dead. R.I.P. Dinosaur computer.
It could have died. R.I.P.
The computer massacre. It's cowbell.
Oh, my God. Seriously. I think maybe Mercury was in retrograde or something because, like, even my phone was, like, doing weird things. And then my work laptop was doing weird things. And I came home and I was like, what's going on? I'm really confused.
Everyone says that about Mercury. And
what about Venus,
well, I mean, like, does it happen?
What about the other planets?
I mean, I don't track this, but I feel like anytime anything goes wrong, like, well, Mercury's in retrograde. I'm like, wasn't it like 3 days ago too? Is it like constant? Is it though? Well, I could say it louder.
Yeah.
Well, it must be. She said it louder. But anyways, that's a never mind.
That's a never mind. But he's like one of the unsung heroes of the Lindy Hop scene.
No, and we Cowbell, you and Mikey did some of the tabulations without Scott.
1 year, yeah.
And it was a little rough.
It was rough because there were several ties and we were unsure how to break them because like we kept trying to do like these different formulas to break the tie and we couldn't break it. And so we had to call Scott like 3 times over the weekend and be like, Scott, help us. This is what it is. And then he would like do the math for us and be like, this is how you break the tie.
And that's why you need a professional
like Scott.
And if you need any other proof about the importance of having a good behind the scenes crew, you can just go to the Lindy Focus group. And just recently, Michael Gamble posted his annual thank you message. And
he wrote a personal note to every single person, like every person on staff, which was incredible.
Yeah, we shouldn't give Michael the whole credit because I know Jaya wrote it too. He's the one who posted it, but it's from both
him and Jaya. Yeah.
And and that's an achievement in and of itself, him just writing that. But like, you just have to look at how many people are on staff and the kinds of people. These are people who are also, instructors. They're also musicians. They're also whatever. They're also professionals. They're actual professionals doing the work they're doing at Lindy Focus in the real world.
Right.
And probably for free or almost free or basically volunteering. Like it's an impressive list of people. But it shows.
Totally. Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say that Lindy Focus is like one of the most professionally organized events, if not the most professionally organized event that I've ever been to.
Oh, it's definitely the most well-run event I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Including the events we've run ourselves.
Yes.
15 years, right?
Yeah.
15 years, and they've like clearly, learned a lot. but they're also constantly taking chances and doing things differently. Like they don't rest on their laurels.
No.
They're always moving forward, which creates a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong, but it's always...
It also creates a lot of opportunity for growth. But let's talk about you, since most people don't really know who you are other than what I say about you.
Yeah. What do you say about me? I don't listen to the podcast.
Mostly secrets. And
that's not true.
Mostly the bad things.
The bad things. I actually listen to the podcast.
Brett's a terrible person. I mean, I'm married to him, but he's awful.
For now.
But why don't you talk about like how you started dancing, how you got into organizing?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you brought me to my very first Lindy Hop dance.
That's right, I did. Right as the love started to blossom.
I think, the very first one was...
February 2007.
It was February 2007.
I know.
And we went to a Friday night dance at this coffee shop called RB Winnings.
Yeah.
And you were like messaging me on Facebook. This is like the Facebook Messenger 1.0. It sent it like email style.
Yeah.
So you had to like, it sent an email or like a message, but you had to like refresh to see if you had a new message. It wasn't like
an instant messenger.
It wasn't like an instant messenger. But for some reason,
old school.
We had instant messenger, but for some reason,
we also had cell phones that could text, right?
I didn't. I didn't have a text plan at the time.
Maybe I didn't have a text plan either.
Well, I could receive, but I couldn't send them because I didn't pay for it. And so I think I was still covered under. You probably did, but I did not. But then your phone broke because you like took it in the shower and
I don't remember.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
And nobody cares.
Anyway.
This. But you were messaging me on the Facebook 1.0 and we're like, oh, you got to come to this thing, and I was like, well, I don't know. And you're like, oh, it'll be so much fun. And so I came, and I liked hanging out with you, and I liked going to the thing. But also, I was like, oh, am I like good at this? Like, am I like? If I like doing things I don't have to struggle at. Like, if I can just like.
Wow, how unusual of a person. You want to do things that you're naturally good at?
Well, I don't mind being challenged, but I didn't want it to be such a challenge that I was like, this is awful. I was like, oh, if I can be like a little bit ahead of the curve, like maybe I should pursue this a little bit. That weekend, the club was putting on a workshop with Rob and Diane Van Huren, I
think.
And you were like, you should come to this workshop. It's basically free because the university's paying for it. And I was like, okay. And so I spent over the weekend. I learned Charleston, more Lindy Hop, and Balboa, and within like a week of like my very first like dance.
And then he was a master.
And then I was a master, and the rest is history.
And then at the end of the workshop, you turned to me and said, "Baby, I got to spend the rest of my life with you."
That's right. And then we were
married.
Will
you marry me?
We were married
and
the
I
next
was like,
week. And then we didn't speak for 10 years. No, so
if only it were true.
That's how I got into dancing. But then, it became immediately clear to me in Albuquerque that there was no single organization, not necessarily like an actual organization, but there was no organizing centrally for the scene. Like,
right, it was a mess.
It was a big mess. There was a few people doing their own thing, but they weren't coordinating with each other. They didn't even necessarily know what the other people were doing.
And there was no way to give out information to anybody, which I think was the biggest problem at the time.
Facebook existed, but there weren't like Facebook events yet.
And you had to be in college to be
That's right.
On
so
Facebook.
Facebook was not really an option. And obviously there were websites, but there was no website for the Albuquerque scene. And so me, not really knowing what I was doing, but knowing that something needed to happen, I built the very first website for the scene.
It was so ugly.
Yeah, it was the ugliest website ever.
It was brown.
Oh, it was brown. It was terrible.
Why did you pick brown?
I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately.
Really?
Yeah, I have been thinking about it because I'm so embarrassed by how ugly everything was. And I don't know why I chose brown. The only thing I can say is that I picked brown and I was like, that doesn't look terrible. And then I moved on.
It was like regular brown, you guys. It wasn't even like a nice brown. It was like regular, ordinary poop brown.
It was really bad. I used Dreamweaver to create it, which if you know anything about programming, you don't use Dreamweaver.
Why?
It's basically a program that was built for it's called a WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG is an acronym that means what you see is what you get.
Oh.
So like it's like basically you have like a Word document and you like put everything you want like in the Word document, and then it generates the HTML code for a website.
So it's like somebody who doesn't actually know how to build a website to build a website.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And so I mean you can do like you still have to like know like some of the tricks to like really make it work, but it's
tricks
like
of the trade.
But it's super lame. Like when who self-respecting website designer would ever use Dreamweaver. It's for stupid people who don't know what they're doing, and I
like
was
yourself.
like me. But
old poop brown over here.
But all of a sudden there was a place where you could go and you could get information about the scene.
Yeah, and that is 100% true.
And that was a huge, a big deal. And that is that website still around? It might. I
don't know.
I don't know. It's a good question. Here, look it up.
Okay, hold on.
It was abqswing.com, but
abqswing.com. Here we go. It's loading. There's nothing.
Oh, is it dead?
Application offline.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, all right. Well, anyways, so we that was around for a good 9 years.
Something like that.
9 years. And I mean, Facebook ended up being the better way to like coordinate with people, but you always have to give somebody a website. You can't give them a Facebook address. And so we had a website.
Yeah.
And that was revolutionary at the time. And so, but I remember I got some flack from people at the time because they were like, you just started dancing. Like, how are you so like presumptuous to think that you can just like come in and like revolutionize our scene or whatever? And I was like, I'm just doing it. Like, you guys are going to do it, I'm going to do it. And basically from that point on, I was involved in like all the organizing for anything that was happening. Yeah,
well, it seemed like you easily found a niche for yourself in the scene.
Yeah, well, I was just like, people are teaching classes, people are DJing. I don't necessarily need to be doing those things, although I ended up doing those things too.
Right.
But nobody's doing the website stuff. Nobody's making flyers. Nobody's like trying to coordinate.
No, we were all just a bunch of knuckleheads.
Yeah. And so I just like took that on. And ever since then, haven't never really felt fully satisfied in the scene unless I was doing something outside of the dancing.
So what do you do now primarily?
Well, after we moved to, in addition to dancing, I had a day job. I know, right?
Work, right?
And I, work in the TV industry. You know this, but for the people who are listening, I work in the TV industry, and I was working in cable TV, and then I was working in various entertainment news type TV shows. And when we moved to LA, I continued to do that work, but there really wasn't a place for us to be organizing or teaching nearly as much. Like, I DJ like once a month at one, at Lindy Groove, but that's about it. Like, we really went from running an entire scene in Albuquerque, or a huge chunk of the scene, and organizing 2 or more events a year to doing almost nothing.
Yeah.
And the other big thing that happened is our expenses exploded, because we went from living in uber cheap Albuquerque to living in ridiculously expensive Los Angeles.
Right.
And so we stopped traveling.
Yeah.
And which was really sad, because we were going to like 10 or 11 events a year.
We were traveling at least once a month.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, no traveling, and because we couldn't afford it. And I was like, I think it was that same year that we went to Lindy Focus, and I did the video posting there. And it was because Andrew Rosario, who is a Nashville dancer and filmmaker, he did the video that a lot of people saw for Summer and Dory, The Perfect Match. He put that together. He's really into drone photography right now, so if you follow him on Facebook, he flies drones around a lot and cool stuff. He was doing the videos at Lindy Focus, and he wanted to expand his team because he was feeling overwhelmed or wanted to do more things or whatever. So he just reached out on Facebook and was like, "Hey, anybody want to do video stuff at Lindy Focus?" And I was like, I can. I'm raising my hand for those who can't see. I raised my hand.
Nobody can see except for me.
Right, and of course, nobody through the internet could see anyways at the time when I raised my hand. And I said, "Hey, I can do that." And he reached out and was like, "Yeah, I need someone to like do the video editing." And I was like, "Okay, I can do that." And so I did that, and he shot all the videos, and Tori Cushing helped at that year, and they fed them back to me, and I posted them. And he had it's actually really important because that actually shaped a lot of how I do the videos now, because he had a goal, Andrew did, that he wanted anything that happened that night to be watchable by the next morning. So basically he wanted people to see the performance, go to bed, wake up, and be able to watch the video.
Right.
And so it was my job to make sure that happened. Problem with that.
Right. And that's right. And there was like every single night you'd come home at like 6:30. Home, I mean the hotel room.
Yeah.
6:30, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning.
It was really bad.
I never saw you at all.
It was really bad because I had to get the videos, and then I didn't get the last ones until like 2 a.m. And then I had to cut them together, and then I had to like export them, which takes time, takes computer processing power. And then I had to upload them, and especially back then, the internet at the Crowne Plaza, Asheville, is terrible. It was so slow. And so I had to like babysit a lot of this stuff, and I would work all night. I'd work from like 2 a.m. till like 6 a.m. every single night.
Right.
But then I'd have like the rest of the day off, and then like I'd sleep in and then like hang out, and then I'd start work again at like 1 or 2 in the morning. But it was crazy. But it was a good experience because I do that is still something I do now, as I try to get videos out as fast as possible. But anyways, I posted so many so that happened, and then the next year the Gambles asked me if I wanted to come back, and they basically gave me an option. They're like, well, you can come, and you can have a team of people like we did before, and you can basically get a free pass, and you'll have to pay for all of your other expenses. Or if you want to do it all by yourself, we'll cover everything. We'll cover all of your expenses.
Right.
And I was like, well, that sounds way better. Like, because flights are not cheap from LA.
Right. We were in the poorhouse.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, that sounds fantastic. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And that year was the first year of the Jonathan Stout Orchestra band leader. The reason that's important is because I shot so many videos of the band. I was just like throwing up videos one after the other. As soon as we got home from that event, I was just posting like dozens and dozens of videos. And that caught the attention of Tanya Morris from Camp Jitterbug.
Mm-hmm.
I caught the attention of Scott and Tina, who I already knew, but like they were running Lindy Fest and Lone Star Championships. That caught their attention.
Yep.
And just like that, I had 2 other gigs in Seattle and Houston, respectively, that very year.
Right.
And ever since then, and then the Fog City Stomp people asked me to do it, and so it's all been like very organic.
Yeah.
And it was just like there was a need, there was a hole in the scene for someone to be doing this, and I happened to be there, and I had the added benefit of actually being a professional in my field at doing this, and so I could bring some like tips and tricks and like make it just a little bit better, and get it out just a little bit faster, and have the quality and whatnot. And yeah, like I think that the rest is history.
Why do you think it's so important to get all those videos out so quickly?
Well, with the ubiquity of cell phone cameras and just cameras in general, like everything has a camera these days. Like your phone has a camera, like
my wallet even has a camera.
Your computer has a camera. Your refrigerator has a camera. It can,
This apple, I take a bite, and on the inside
it's got a camera. What?
How did it get there?
It's really essential part of the apple eating experience.
Now you see the inside of your mouth.
But so what happens is that people want to see the videos right away.
Right.
They want to start re-experiencing them. If they miss them, they're going to be looking for them. And so to get them, the faster you get them up, the happier they are. But also, I get scooped all the time by people. People will sit in the audience, like on the far side, like and shoot a selfie video, like super shaky, looking up at the dancers. And then as soon as it's over, they will post it.
Right. Within seconds.
Within seconds. And if any of the people who are actually in that performance or any like well-known instructor or somebody shares that video, I'm screwed.
That's it.
Nobody's going to watch my video. And so, which really, like, it really sucks when the shitty video that got, like, someone dropped their phone on the ground and, like,
whoopsie
like,
boo.
Whoopsie boo, and they're, like, making commentary the whole time. They're like, yeah, you get it, dude, what? And it's, like, out of focus and fuzzy, and they're, like, fingers blocking half of the lens. Like, that video gets shared, like, 100 times. And then I post my video, which I, like, slaved over and, like, spent, thousands of dollars on all the technology used to get it up there. It gets, like, 3 shares, because everyone's like, I've seen it.
I've been there, done that.
Seen that performance. I don't need to see it again.
That performance was so 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So
on to the next best
I'm
thing.
Like constantly trying to beat the people who are doing this from posting their videos, or at least reassure the performers and the competitors that yes, they can watch the crappy cell phone video, but wait just like a day before you share it, and then share the good version, and then everybody will watch the good version.
Right.
So
right.
That's important. That's an important reason why to get it out quickly.
So what are some tips that you would give to people who might see you at an event as the videographer? Yeah,
I mean, just like give me some space so that I don't run into you and you don't run into me. There's one thing that happens that a lot of people don't even realize. If you're like really getting into like the performance and you're shouting and you're clapping and whatever, and you're right next to me, that's all people are going to hear on the microphone. They're going to hear you're shouting and you're clapping and you're stomping. And if it's not like with the rest of the crowd, like it's going to be obvious that it's you, and it's going to be etched in that video forever. But what's really annoying is when people stamp their feet, because that shakes the whole tripod. And so not only is your voice now indelled in the video forever, but also the shaking of the tripod and camera.
So if you're standing right next to Brett, you should
don't
behave yourself a little bit.
And especially in those portable dance floors, if you switch your weight from one side of your body to the other, it moves the floor.
Well, there have been so many times where you've leaned over and been like, can you stop moving? Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't move. And you're like, no, I can feel you move.
I can see that the tripod goes blung. And like every time someone just like steps off of one square onto the other square. But, the people who are actually the worst about this are the judges. They don't even realize it, but there's a lot of judges that get really into it and they start tapping their feet. I don't know if you can hear me. They start tapping their feet and they're like, yeah, ooh, yeah. And they get really into it and they're like moving up and down. And they're like, and so I can like see their heads like bobbing.
Wait, what? Was it at ILHC this year with Mike Faltasek, who was like bouncing up and down in his chair?
I've never discussed it with him, but Mike Faltasek is the worst perpetrator of all this stuff. And the thing is, I love him for it because he's getting into it. He loves what he's seeing. He's so invested in the performance that it's making him move his body. And he's a dancer. He should be allowed to move his body, which is why when it comes to the judges, I almost never say anything because they're doing a job just like I'm doing a job, and their job and my job are not necessarily more or less important than each other. And so I want them to feel like they're doing their thing and they don't have to be bugged. But anyways, I've seen him at a few events or a few competitions, and he bounces and he taps his feet and it shakes the camera, and I'm like holding it, like trying to hold it steady to keep him from...
What year was it? There was one year where like, maybe it was like a show or something, but I had to hold the tripod down for 45 minutes straight.
Oh, was this at LHC for the team competition?
Maybe it was.
Yeah, because
Brett was doing the videography, and I basically like had to hug the tripod to hold it down in place because the floor was shaking so much.
Well, so that may have happened, but what I'm thinking of at ILHC is it was the team competition, and we got all set up, and we were like, these teams are too big. There's no way, like, I'm not going to be able to get everybody in the shot. And I'm like, and then we like called an audible, or I did at least, and was like, okay, I need a new lens. I need the adapter. Like, go run upstairs and get this. And I'm like, I need something to lift up the tripod. Chairs, bring chairs. And so we brought like 3 chairs over.
Oh my God, that's
and
right.
We made an impromptu stand out of just regular like chairs, like banquet chairs, and like put the tripod on top of it. But they're cushioned chairs, and so that means it's like mushy and like the legs are like mushing in. And so if you touch it at all, it wobbles
all
it's
over the
like
place.
you have to hold this tripod. And so like, and you can watch the performances. It's still like they barely fit. Like there's still some of the teams are still big enough that I could not get high and far enough away with the wide enough lens to be able to get everybody in the shot. But yeah, you had to hold it the entire time because otherwise it was like it could have just fallen over. And I'm like standing on my own chair, like. Yeah,
and if you can just imagine Brett yelling at me the whole, "Go get this lens! Go do this! Hold this down!
Pow.
Do it now! And
Do
I'm
it
like,
now! We'll do it live!
I'm scared! Oh. So, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that you etched out a place for yourself in the scene because,
totally.
I mean, like, you've been dancing for a
Yeah.
long time, but I wouldn't say necessarily that you are an avid dancer. Like, you don't even go out dancing once a week.
Well, there's a lot of people in the scene that I describe as ambitious, up-and-coming dancers. They are looking up to the Peter Stroms and the Naomis and the Ninas and the Joe and Kevin's and all those people, the people that sometimes we refer to as rock stars, although I hate that term and they do too. But they're looking up at them and they're like, that's me. I want to be that.
Yeah.
I am not one of those people. I've never been that ambitious. I've always...
Well, you've always had your own path that you were focused on.
Well, what it is honestly is that I like to fill in where I'm needed. And so when we were starting out in Albuquerque, I was like, I am needed to be organizing stuff and doing publicity stuff because nobody else is doing it. And I think I have an idea of how it could be done. And so I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the videography. A few years ago, like, Davis Thurber and Jonathan Zhao and Patrick Schmidt and maybe some others were all doing videography for events simultaneously.
Yeah,
and
that's
now,
right. None of them are.
Or they're doing it very rarely. If you look at Europe, there's a lot of people in Europe doing it. I'm not sure who they are, but I see a lot of videos coming out of Europe. Like that's a thing. But in the U.S., it's lacking.
Yeah.
And I know it is because I'm getting asked to do these events, and I'm more and more every year. I'm doing Camp Hollywood this year for the first time.
Lindy on the Rocks.
I'm doing Lindy on the Rocks this year for the first time. And so there's a need, and I like being able to fill that for people.
Do you think there's also a value in having high quality videos for Lindy Hop events?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
I would.
I would.
It's me.
But back in the day, before we started dancing, even, or maybe we were at least started dancing like right around like the last gasp of this, they would hire professional video crews to document events and make tapes and sell those tapes.
Yep.
This is pre-YouTube, and that was the only way people could get the videos. And so those were relatively high quality videos of the time. I mean, there was old technology, but that was the state of the art at the time. And that was a huge deal. But as soon as the internet came around and as soon as people were posting on YouTube, that became obsolete.
Right.
And so it went all the way to the other direction of non-professional amateurs with camcorders and cell phones didn't really have cameras at the time, but nowadays they do. And so that's like been the trend. Just like people will shoot it by themselves or shoot it themselves, or someone will just volunteer to do it and then they'll post the videos to their own page. There's definitely a value in getting back to that more like structured, like we're going to have like professionals do this and we're going to do everything and we're going to do it in a very specific way and it's going to look good and you're going to want to be happy with the content. But the problem is that back then people paid for it.
Right.
Specifically, if someone wanted a video, they paid like $50 or something. We're not cheap.
For a VHS.
For a VHS copy. And then
can you imagine paying $50 for a VHS? That sounds out of control.
And people did it.
They did. And it was a hot commodity.
Yeah, I actually may have been more or less than that. I don't know what the actual price was, but I know it was a premium. It was not like $10.
Right.
And so they could hire these crews and it would be totally subsidized. They could actually make money, hire these people and make money. I am not in that position. Everything goes up on YouTube. It's free.
Right.
There's no income generated from it. At best, you can write it off as a marketing expense.
Right.
And so it's very difficult to... I want to rent some equipment to make something look a little bit better. Some people are into that. Some people are not.
Right.
And so some people want to pay me a stipend. Some people don't. It's like everything, everyone's trying to pinch pennies, which I totally get, but it makes it harder to get those really top-notch professional videos.
Yeah.
And so I would love it to swing the other direction where people are like, no, we're going to invest in this. And
do you think that's the direction it's going? I mean, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years in terms of videography and Lindy Hop?
Well, probably the only thing that could happen that would break it out of just the cycle that it's in right now is if you'd have to do kind of self-funded Patreon type stuff where you basically get the community to fund the work. And that way you can funnel that money into better equipment, more time, hiring assistants, have multiple cameras. The event gets a very basic thing, but then the Patreon subscribers get the multi-angle, artistically edited, with the interviews or whatever,
unicorns.
Yeah, exactly. That that might work, but then again, the only people that are getting to see that stuff are the people that are buying in.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where I see it. Honestly, I have a full-time job, and if somebody else, some whippersnapper with a DSLR was like, I can do this.
Why do they have a rough and gruff voice when they're a young whippersnapper?
Because they're a little overconfident.
Oh, I see.
And they came out of the woodwork and were like, I can do this too. I'd be like, go for it. And if they proved that they could, I'd be like, that's fine. Let them do it. I'm fine with that. I don't need to be doing this. Because like I said, I want to be there to fill the need. And if there's not a need anymore, I'm cool just advising or just sitting back and enjoying. But so far, the people that are qualified or able to do that are not able or not willing or haven't had the opportunity to try.
Right.
And so right now, here we are. And
here we are.
And,
standing before you, videography, camera in hand, recording the next performance.
That's right.
In 3, 2,
action.
1. Cool. Shall we move on to the question?
Yeah, let's move on to the question.
Unless you had anything else to say.
Well, let me see.
He took notes.
I did take
Brett
notes.
took notes.
No,
what
a
guy.
I think I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about.
Sweet, babe.
But
then let's move on to the question.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
So the question this week is from Chris Lee. He says, hey, guys, meaning me and Mikey.
Wait, he doesn't know me? Chris, buddy.
Come on, Chris.
Chris, buddy. He'll be my best friend now. Oh, my God. Before we move on, can we talk about Cowbell and about our biggest fan?
Lori. Oh, my gosh. Lori, if you're listening.
Oh, she's listening.
We just want to say hi to you.
She came up to me and, well, first, you tell your side first.
Well, so Mikey introduced her to me and was like, this is Rachel. And she was like, oh, my God, you're Rachel. I listened to every episode. I love you so much. It's like we're friends or something like that. And I was like, it's so great to meet you. And she was like, yay. And then she ran off.
Yeah, probably out to me. And I was setting up for recording some prelims at Cowbell. And she's like, are you Brett? I'm like, yes.
Who are you?
And she's like, oh my God, I listened to your wife's podcast and I love her so much. And you were on it the other day and that was hilarious.
And now he's in the entire episode, Lori.
It's true. Hi, Lori. And then, but then she was like, so when are you going to post that video? Soon, Lori. Do you even like me, Lori, or is that all you care about is when the video gets posted? I'm on to you.
Oh, we're saying hi to you, Lori.
Though I did post it sooner than I might have because she asked. So
Aww.
You're welcome. I hope you saw it.
She probably did.
She's like, I forgot all about that.
She said, I don't even remember.
Anyway, so Chris Lee.
He says, hey guys, big fan of the show. Especially enjoy the energy and the rapport you have with each other. Smiley face.
Thanks, Chris. On behalf of Mikey.
For Mikey. As someone who's only been Lindy hopping for less than a year, how do I get over my anxiety of dancing with someone far better or more experienced than me? What if I mess up a move? Am I leading enough variety? God, I hope they're enjoying dancing with me. Some examples of what he's thinking in his head, I'm sure. Do you have any stories of when you were starting out and dancing with people who starstruck you?
So many.
Yes. Wait, okay, so first of all, did you ever experience that as a
being starstruck?
Yeah, or just being like super nervous dancing with somebody?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, when we started going to events, I like people like Ramona, Joe Hoffberg, Carla Heine. I remember dancing with all of them for the first time and like feeling really nervous.
Yeah.
And yeah, like what about you?
Yeah, I remember one example specifically. I think it was the first Lindy Fest that I ever went to in 2007. And I was super in love with Sky Humphreys. Yep. And I really wanted to ask him to dance, but I was super afraid. And one of my friends who had come from Albuquerque to Lindy Fest with us physically pushed me up to Sky and like right into Sky's face. And so I had to be like, will you dance with me? But the song was super fast. It was like faster than what I could dance at that time. And so it was a terrible dance. It went awful.
I remember you told me that he like looked around the room and was like, is there any way I can get out of this? And then was like, okay.
I don't remember that part.
You definitely remember you telling me that. Not that he was necessarily didn't want to dance with you, but he was like, oh, do I really want to dance to this song with a stranger? Like,
who he totally didn't recognize. Yeah. And then I totally bombed the dance. It was terrible. Yeah. And I don't think I danced with him for years after that. I also had another really terrible experience where I was dancing with Max Petrozella, I think also at Lindy Fest, but later on. And I was super nervous dancing with him. And I was kind of hanging with him. And then he started leading like more complicated turns and stuff. And all of a sudden he like put me into the spin and I lost my balance and I fell into him and I slapped him on the chest because that's just like how I happened to catch myself. But my face also went into his chest. But it was like such an awkward situation. And so I was like face in his chest and then I like looked up at him like this and he looked down at me on his chest and was like, I'm sure he was thinking like, what is this girl doing? God. And I was like, sorry. Do you still get nervous when you dance with professional dancers or like people who are way better than you?
No. Well, it depends because the short answer is no, I don't, because I kind of stopped caring a while ago. Because for a while it was really important what they thought about my dancing, and now I feel secure in myself and my place in the scene and my ability as a dancer. And
your primary focus is not dancing.
Exactly. And so it doesn't really bother me. But especially with people like, you stick around in the scene long enough and you get involved, you meet the people that are your idols and you learn that they're not idols. They're just people. And some of them are super cool and some of them are, less cool or whatever, or just not your thing. And then you're humanized and it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing I learned is they don't care as much as you care.
No, they don't.
And that's true of anybody who's a really good dancer, dancing with somebody who's not as experienced. The inexperienced dancer cares way more than the experienced dancer.
Yeah.
Almost always.
Yeah.
There's some assholes out there that are mean to beginner dancers or just don't dance with them or whatever. Yeah. But by and large, like, they don't care if you make a mistake. They just care about the intent and the effort and whatnot.
Totally.
But Chris, you probably never embarrassed yourself as much as I did. I was dancing with Joe Hofberg at Lindy Fest.
It all happens at Lindy Fest.
All happens at Lindy Fest. There's only so many events we go to. It's like the same ones. So one of the 10 events that we attend. And I was dancing with her, and they were playing music, but the floor wasn't really open. It was either like after a class or before like a thing. Like it was empty floor, but there was music. So I was like, hey, you want to dance? And so we were dancing. We're having like a great dance, but I think the floor is empty. And so I'm just like dancing really big. I'm taking advantage of it. We're having a great time. And so I do some sort of thing where she comes around to my side and I just start backing up. And I'm like really going for it. I'm like going really fast, backwards direction. And it would have been super cool, except for the fact the two people dancing with each other that I slam into behind me, who of course ended up being Peter Strom and Naomi Yama. And they were not happy. They were not happy, especially Peter. He was not happy with me. And it's not like we were strangers. Like we had hired them to work events for us before. They knew who we were, or I was at least. And they obviously knew who Joe was. But he was not happy with me, and he made that very clear, and I could not have felt more small. I felt so bad. But we're only halfway through the song, and I'm dancing with a person, Joe, and so now I have to, like, you know, just get over it and then, like, and keep dancing with Joe and pretend like nothing happened while simultaneously apologizing to everybody profusely. I'm sorry. Was it good for you? I don't know if any of those three would remember this. Probably not. They have way more important things.
Don't remember.
But I thought about that for years afterwards. It took me a really long time to get over that because I was so embarrassed by it.
Man.
And here's a tip. More collisions happen on an empty dance floor than on a full dance floor because people aren't paying attention when it's an empty dance floor. So if you're dancing and there's not very many people around and you don't want to run into them, just dance a little bit smaller, just be a little bit more aware.
Pro tips from Brett
But don't be afraid.
Dahlenburg.
Don't be afraid to ask, you know, fancy people to dance.
Yeah, I think the key is that they're not any more important than you.
Mm-mm.
They just happen to have been doing something longer than you. It's like, I don't know.
They want you to succeed.
Yeah.
They really do.
Totally.
And if they didn't want to dance with beginners, they wouldn't be out on the dance floor because that's a huge part of their job. And most of the people asking them to dance are people who are a lot less experienced.
Yeah.
Like all of them, actually.
Yeah, totally.
Did we hit every point of his question?
I think we did.
I forgot what the question was.
How do I get over my anxiety of dancing with someone far better or more experienced than
I guess
me?
our advice is get over it.
Yeah.
It's unfounded, Chris.
That's all you said.
That was all our advice was don't worry about it. How do you get over it? I think you just face it. You just face it.
Face your fears, Chris.
And if there's somebody that you really want to dance with, but you're too afraid to ask them, I say talk to them and don't ask them to dance and just get to know them.
Oh, that's really good.
Because
you are so smart.
Well, thank you.
Way smarter than Mikey.
I've been saying that forever.
Sorry, Mikey. He's not even listening. Don't worry. He's in Australia.
He's not here. He's not here.
He's not here.
But yeah, if you get to know, it's so hard to be intimidated by somebody that you're friends with. Like,
that's true.
You know, if you're just friendly and you're like, let's just have a good time. Like, well,
I have the perfect example, which is I used to be super intimidated of dancing with Mikey. Like super intimidated.
Oh, the irony.
The irony, right? And then, and we've been friends for a long time now, but I would say that we've only been close friends since we moved to LA.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, just because you have to see somebody fairly often to be a close friend of theirs.
Yeah, and I would say that like over the past 3 years or so, we've gotten a lot closer, and I've gotten to know him a lot better. And it's finally like just within the past 2 years or so that I have felt comfortable being like my true self on the dance floor with him.
Yeah.
And so I think just getting to know somebody and realizing who they are as a person is super helpful. Like, I got to know Andy Reid a little bit.
Yeah.
And that helped ease my anxiety over dancing with him. And he and I have really fun dances.
Yeah. It also, I think it affects the other person too, because they, if you're just a stranger that they don't know from Adam, like they're going to treat you a certain way. But if you're a friend, they're going to root for you. They're going to be understanding about mistakes. They're going to not even care about certain things.
I mean, I feel like they would do that either way.
Probably, but I think it's more so.
There's always like a sense of familiarity with someone, when
I think
you're
just
more
and you're more comfortable with people.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing is too that a lot of people don't realize is that these professional instructors are often like just as nervous as you are, or like have a lot of anxiety over meeting people,
sure.
or are
they
equally shy,
awkward,
or are equally awkward or introverted.
Yes.
And so it's hard for them to reach out as well. So
yeah, I agree.
There you are.
Yeah.
Boom.
All right. Well, I think we did all the talking.
We did so much talking.
We were like, we could just keep this short. Mikey's not here. We don't have to do the big long.
3 hours later, Here we are.
Yeah, but this was a full-sized podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, babe, for doing this with me, even though Mikey isn't here.
No problem, babe. You got it, babe.
Babe, you are just like totally the best.
Well, you are, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Cool. You guys, thanks so much for listening to us and our shenanigans.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Mikey and Rachel, minus Mikey.
Minus Mikey.
Minus Mikey's not here.
Now, to be fair, Mikey texted me and was like, you and Brett should do a podcast.
That's true.
You guys should record. So
it was called The Dark Side with Rachel and Brett.
The Dark Side with Rachel and
Brett.
The
Dark Side.
We are much darker. Go ahead and check us out on iTunes and on SoundCloud. And if you have any questions, you guys, please send them our way. Or if you have any comments, please send them our way as well, because we'd love to get some feedback from you.
And if you want to see me at an event, I'm working at Lindy Fest, followed by, let's just say Lindy Fest. Just come to Lindy Fest in Houston, you'll see us.
Cool.
If you want to see me doing some video stuff.
And Inspiration.
And Inspiration Weekend in March.
Yeah.
And also Lindy Fest in March.
Also, Lindy Fest in March. Those two things.
Yeah.
You can come, say hi. You'll know who Brett is because he'll be the one carrying all the camera equipment.
Yeah, carrying the biggest camera in the room.
So, I guess that's it.
All right.
All right, you guys. We'll see you later or talk to you later.
Or bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So I just hit the stop button and don't delete everything?
Hit stop. Don't delete. Don't delete.